The atmosphere around the Pittsburgh Steelers shifted dramatically in the last few days, and you can feel it in every corner of the franchise. What happened caught almost everyone off guard, not because change is unfamiliar in this league, but because of how suddenly it arrived. The meeting between ownership and the media happened earlier than usual for this time of year, and that alone already signaled that something bigger was unfolding behind the scenes. There was no attempt to stall, no effort to buy time. Instead, the message came with clarity, directness, and a sense that the organization already knew the road it wanted to follow. What stood out immediately was the emphasis placed on leadership as the defining trait for the next head coach. Not scheme, not play design, not even innovation for innovation's sake. Leadership was the word. That framed the entire conversation. It was presented not as a buzzword, but as the backbone of how the Steelers have always functioned. The idea is simple but demanding. The head coach must command the room, command the locker room, and command respect throughout the entire building. That philosophy is deeply tied to the history of the franchise and the way past eras were shaped, with head coaches holding real authority and a strong voice in personnel decisions. There was also a clear indication that the internal structure of the organization is not about to be torn down or reinvented. The chain of command, the balance of power, and the responsibilities attached to each role are all expected to remain intact. The Steelers have long believed in stability at the top, trusting their head coach to be more than just a play caller. That trust extends into roster construction, draft philosophy, and the overall identity of the team. Any new coach stepping into this role will be expected to fit into that framework rather than attempt to overhaul it. Another point that carried weight was the preference for a candidate with experience in the National Football League, but not someone currently holding a head coaching position. The goal appears to be finding a coach who has been immersed in the league's highest level, understands its weekly grind, and has learned under established systems, yet is still hungry for his first opportunity to run a franchise. That balance between experience and ambition is not accidental. It reflects a belief that the next era should be driven by fresh energy without abandoning the principles that have defined the Steelers for decades. When the list of interview candidates surfaced, it reinforced that direction even further. Every name shared one key characteristic: youth paired with meaningful responsibility. None of them are veterans of the head coaching carousel, and none of them represent a safe or conservative hire. This is a group shaped by modern football, by adaptability, and by exposure to evolving ideas across both sides of the ball. Among them is a single, offensive-minded coach, younger than the rest, whose background is rooted in passing game concepts and creative structure. His age might raise eyebrows for some, but history shows that previous Steelers head coaches were not much older when they received their opportunity. The remaining candidates lean heavily toward defense, which should not surprise anyone familiar with the identity of this franchise. Defensive coordinators who have earned respect in recent seasons, who have managed complex units, and who have demonstrated leadership over entire sides of the ball, are very much in line with what Pittsburgh values. One of the names is especially familiar to the fan base, having already spent time within the organization and understanding the culture from the inside. That familiarity could matter, but it is not being presented as an automatic advantage, only as part of a broader evaluation beyond the names themselves. The most revealing part of the discussion centered on the idea of rebuilding. The question was direct, and so was the response. There was little patience for the concept of intentionally stepping back or accepting losing seasons as a necessary phase. The philosophy remains firm. Every year is a year to compete. Not every roster will be perfect. Not every season will end with a championship. But the standard never changes. The Steelers do not believe in shelving ambition for the sake of long-term positioning. The expectation is to line up every season believing a championship is still within reach. That stance opens up a broader conversation about how teams navigate transition in today's league. Some organizations have chosen to tear things down entirely, sacrificing immediate results for future flexibility. Others have managed to reload on the fly, reshaping their rosters without completely falling out of contention. The Steelers appear firmly aligned with the latter approach. Decisions will be influenced heavily by the current state of the roster, with particular attention paid to the most important position on the field. Quarterback evaluation sits near the top of the priority list, shaping timelines, expectations, and strategic choices. There is an understanding that not every solution needs to be immediate. A new head coach may arrive with a clear vision, but also with patience, Drafting a quarterback now, waiting another year, or allowing competition to play out are all possibilities that remain on the table. What matters most is that these decisions are made with purpose, not panic. The organization seems willing to accept short-term uncertainty if it believes it leads to long-term clarity. That approach may not guarantee quick success, but it aligns with the belief that stability and consistency ultimately create sustainable contention. All of this speaks to something deeper than a single hiring cycle. It reflects how the Steelers view themselves within the league and how they intend to move forward. After a significant moment of change, the foundation of the franchise, its expectations, and its internal standards are being reaffirmed rather than rewritten. Every choice made in the coming weeks will connect back to those principles, shaping not just the next season, but the identity of the team for years to come. As the conversation continues to unfold, another layer of this transition comes into focus, and it revolves around pressure, perception, and patience, with a historic resignation still fresh. Emotions among the fan base are raw, and that reality cannot be ignored. There is a sense that frustration has been building for years, and when a defining figure steps away, that frustration does not disappear. Instead, it looks for a new target. That dynamic is playing out right now, and it is shaping how every word from the organization is received. Ownership suddenly finds itself under a microscope in a way that feels different from the past. The criticism is louder, more direct, and more personal. Some of it is rooted in legitimate football concerns, while some of it is clearly emotional. Fueled by seasons that ended short of expectations, the idea that stagnation has set in is not new, but it has gained traction because change has finally occurred at the most visible level. When that happens, people naturally ask why it took so long and whether deeper changes are still necessary. Age and succession have become part of the discussion as well, not because there is a clear announcement looming, but because the timing invites speculation. Leadership transitions in this league rarely happen in isolation. They are often gradual, intentional, and quietly prepared long before they become public. Observers have noticed who is present in important moments, who is sitting in key rooms, and who is being exposed to high-level decision-making. Those details matter, even if they do not come with immediate answers. What is clear is that the current search is not being treated casually. The process is being handled directly by the top decision-makers, with a clear sense of ownership over the outcome. That alone sends a message. It suggests that this hire is being viewed as foundational, not transitional. The next head coach will not simply be filling a vacancy. He will be shaping the direction of the franchise at a moment when expectations and scrutiny are both elevated. There is also an acknowledgement, whether stated outright or not, that modern football demands evolution. That does not mean abandoning tradition, but it does mean interpreting it correctly. The league is faster, more creative, and more aggressive than it was a decade ago. Successful teams adapt without losing their identity. That balance is difficult to strike, and it places even more importance on leadership. A head coach must be comfortable commanding veterans, developing young players, and communicating a vision that resonates across generations in the locker room. Quarterback development continues to hover over every conversation like a shadow. No matter how strong the roster is elsewhere, no matter how sound the culture may be, everything eventually circles back to that position. There is an understanding that forcing an answer can be just as damaging as avoiding the question altogether. The Steelers appear committed to gathering information, creating competition, and allowing clarity to emerge rather than manufacturing certainty where it does not yet exist. This approach may test the patience of a fan base that is desperate for immediate direction. Waiting is rarely popular, especially in a league built on urgency. But there is a belief within the organization that discipline in decision-making matters more than speed. Rushing into a move simply to quiet criticism has rarely produced lasting success. The hope is that a steady hand, combined with a clear philosophy, will create results that speak louder than any press conference ever could. Another important aspect of this moment is how responsibility is distributed. The head coach will not operate in isolation, nor will ownership dictate football decisions without collaboration. The structure emphasizes shared accountability, where vision is aligned from the top down. That alignment is essential during periods of transition, especially when expectations remain championship level even amid uncertainty. Everyone involved understands that excuses will not be accepted, regardless of how new the circumstances may be. The emotional temperature surrounding the team also reflects a deeper truth about this market. Pittsburgh cares deeply about its football, and that passion cuts both ways. It creates loyalty, but it also creates impatience. Fans do not just want effort, they want progress. They want to feel that every season is moving towards something meaningful. The organization's insistence on competing every year is not just philosophy, it is a response to that demand. As names continue to circulate and interviews move forward, the noise will only increase. Speculation will turn into opinion. Opinion will turn into debate, and debate will turn into judgment. That is unavoidable. What matters most is not winning the press conference cycle, but getting the hire right. This decision will influence roster moves, draft strategies, and the overall tone of the franchise for seasons to come. There is a sense that this moment represents a crossroads. Not because the Steelers are lost, but because they are choosing which version of themselves they want to be in the next era. Stability remains a core value, but adaptability is no longer optional. The challenge is to merge those two ideas into a single, coherent direction. That responsibility will ultimately fall on the shoulders of the next head coach, supported by ownership that appears determined to uphold its standards. Without clinging blindly to the past, everything happening now is laying groundwork. Some of it will make sense immediately. Some of it will only become clear years down the road, but the themes are consistent. Leadership over labels, purpose over panic, and competition as a non-negotiable expectation. In a league defined by constant change, the Steelers are attempting to navigate transition without losing themselves, trusting that clarity, patience, and conviction will guide them through this pivotal chapter. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Pittsburgh is in utter disbelief as news breaks that Mike Tomlin, the stalwart head coach of the Steelers for over a decade, has reportedly been let go. Sources close to the team describe the move as a total reset, hinting that management may be preparing for a sweeping overhaul of the organization. The term clean slate has been whispered in locker rooms and front offices alike, and speculation is rife that Tomlin's departure could signal a seismic shift in the Steelers' approach to football. While official statements remain scarce, insiders suggest that this is not merely a reaction to one disappointing season. Rumors point to internal disagreements on strategy, personnel decisions, and perhaps even philosophical divides between the coaching staff and ownership. Some analysts are already pointing fingers at the front office for pushing the change, noting that the timing seems abrupt but may reflect a longer-term vision to revamp a franchise that has struggled to find consistency in recent campaigns. The question now turns to who could step into Tomlin's shoes. Names of prominent coordinators and high-profile NFL assistants are already circulating in speculative circles. Though no concrete confirmations have emerged, fans are left to wonder whether Pittsburgh will opt for a rising star with fresh ideas or a seasoned veteran who promises stability. The narrative is complicated further by reports of internal cleansing, suggesting that the shakeup could extend beyond the head coach, potentially affecting key assistants and front office personnel. Pundits across the league are weighing the implications. Some view this as a bold, necessary move to reassert dominance in a competitive division, while others caution that such abrupt changes can destabilize a team culture that has been built over years. Either way, the Steelers have captured national attention, and every rumor, speculation, and hint of insider news is being dissected by fans and journalists alike. For Pittsburgh, the era of Tomlin appears to have ended, and the city braces for what could be a transformative period. Questions abound. Will this be the dawn of a new dynasty, or a tumultuous chapter in a storied franchise? With whispers of a general cleanup circulating, one thing is clear: the Steelers are on the brink of a major identity shift, and the NFL world is watching closely. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Pittsburgh Steelers, make sure to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.